had a discussion in regards to a number of issues, and one discussion that has come up of late is for us to go back and realize that the Central Corridor could be much more convenient for us as a country. Now, with me, standing right next to me here, is Charles Kateba, who is the Managing Director, Uganda Railways. And of course, one may wonder, okay, so how often do we get to have these people come and talk to us about things like this? But it's important that we get to bring you these people in the right place to talk about this kind of information so that we can understand more what these discussions are about. Because oftentimes you find journalists discuss this, talk about that. But I'm glad that you're here.
Thank you very much. I'm always glad to talk about railway business, yes, because that's what I live on.
Exactly.
And talking about the Central Corridor, it's one of two routes that we use.
Yes.
Our main one, of course, being Mombasa.
Yeah.
The second route is Dar es Salaam. Many people do not know that route, but that route simply connects Port Bell to Mwanza, and from Mwanza all the way to Dar es Salaam you go by rail. For some time it had been out of use, but last year in July we reopened that route, and so far we've carried about 60,000 tons on that route alone. And this is from about 2 or 3 customers. But interestingly, it's turning out to be a very good route for exports.
More convenient.
We are carrying up about 3,000 tons of exports to Mwanza every month. The biggest commodity is steel, but we also have oil, we have soaps, we have cosmetics that is going that route. We have even medical chemicals going on that route. So it is very potentially it's a big player for exporters.
Okay. So of course the discussion having come up and so many times, of course, like you said, could be the better alternative, of course, regarding other challenges from the Northern Corridor. But why is it important to have this discussion? Yes, we've talked about, you've given us the statistics, but why is it important for us to actually focus on the Central Corridor?
It is important for 2 reasons. One, first of all, as a country, we must have a second route to the sea. If it's our insurance. But very importantly, apparently it's the shortest in terms of time. We've been able to do 3 days transit time from Dar es Salaam to Mwanza. Currently there are ongoing works on the line, so the time may increase to about 6 days. But from next year, when these works on the meter gauge railway are completed, we'll go back to 2.5 days transit time from Dar es Salaam to Mwanza, and 1 day to Kampala, which means we will be doing 4 days transit time from Mombasa to Dar es Salaam.
Okay. So
from Kampala to Dar es Salaam.
Okay. So what are some of the things you're seeing as key focus areas to make sure that indeed the Central Corridor is boosted, or we get to use it quite conveniently or well as a country?
First and foremost, we need to restore our capacity for the wagon ferries. The wagon ferries are ships that carry wagons. You load 22 wagons on the ship, and when they get to the other end, you just pull them off with the locomotive and continue with your train. So currently we have 1 active ship. We are working on plans to restore a second ship, but ultimately we need to build another 1 or 2 more ships. The second area we need to concentrate on is acquisition of container carrying wagons. Both in the Tanzania Railways Corporation and Uganda Railways Corporation, we do not have sufficient container carrying wagons. So those are the key areas that we are looking at. The third area is improving the port, both in Jinja and Port Bell, to handle more ships alongside. But ultimately, we are going to use Bokassa Port.
Oh, okay.
Bokassa Port is the big game changer, because that will be able to handle bigger ships, container carrying ships. Those will connect through Namambe both to the meter gauge and the standard gauge. So that's the long term. But in the short term, we are trying to improve Port Bell and Jinja, and also acquiring, rehabilitating our MV Pamba, and maybe acquiring an extra ship.
Okay, so those are the challenges so far that you have in.
Yes.
And you're seeking to get solutions to them.
Yes.
Okay, so if we're looking, yes, you've talked about the long term. What are we looking at in terms of what people are you partnering with to make sure that this happens? As soon as
we have the usual partners.
yes.
The first line of partners are our co-operators. So, for example, for restoration of the facilities, the connecting lines, we are working with both Tanzania Railways and Kenya Railways. Because remember, although the ports serve the central corridor, they also serve the northern corridor through Kisumu, because Kisumu is part of the northern corridor. So we are working with both Tanzania Railways and Kenya Railways. Then in the very near future, we are going to start the carriage of fuel from Kisumu using wagon ferries. We have already started taking tank wagons to Kisumu in preparation of loading. We have got shunting locomotives. Kenya Railways has brought in a shunting locomotive, and we're also getting another locomotive from Tanzania to boost our fleet to be able to handle this lake business.
Okay. Now, the recent directive on the SGR by Kenya, what does it mean to Uganda?
Well, there's no hard policy as yet, because remember, we are protected by international treaties, such as the Treaty on Transit Goods for landlocked countries. That's one. But as Uganda Railways, the directive that has been quoted doesn't affect us much, because we are still loading direct from Mombasa to Kampala. We also have facilities to load from Nairobi. The SGR terminal at Nairobi is sitting abreast the MGR line, so we can transship containers from the SGR onto the MGR and bring it all the way to Kampala. So for us, it's business as usual. Yes.
That's very interesting. And of course, there's a number of things that we've discussed so far. Now we need to look at some of the benefits of the rail, and we had this discussion before, over the road, and also looking at how best we can utilize, especially if we're looking at Lake Victoria.
The first advantage is economy stupid, right?
Yes.
It's much cheaper, much faster, and more convenient to use rail than road.
Yeah.
Why? Because whereas you use one driver to move up to 100 wagons or more, you'll probably need 100 drivers to move the same amount or more drivers. When you deal with railways, you deal with one customer, rather with one provider. If you place your cargo with Kenya Railways or Uganda Railways, it will arrive at destination without involving many other people. Whereas by road, you are dealing with 200 or 20 truckers, all of them with different managers, so but most importantly, we can carry heavier loads. We can carry them further and faster. Yeah. So in the end, when you have a well-managed, maintained railway system, the transport cost comparison between road and rail is about 1 to 2, sometimes up to 1 to 3. Currently, even in our very not well managed system, we are doing 1.8 times cheaper than by road.
Thank you so much for your time, and we do appreciate that you've made time for us.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to talk to you again.
Yes.
And we need to continue informing our viewers and our nationals about the advantages, and we want to welcome everybody to join us in the struggle to restore a reliable and efficient railway network.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Charles Kateva, Managing Director, Uganda Railways. And of course, it's been very clear in a number of things. Our main focus here was looking at the Central Corridor and, of course, the general performance of the Uganda Railway. He pointed out a number of things that, yes, we do agree could be challenges, but there is short-term and long-term solutions to these things. And definitely, we do wish you the best of luck. And we'll be following up on that one. Yeah?
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.